Hey, Joe.
Yes, brother.
How you doing?
I'm good, my man.
You good?
Pastor Gibin, how you doing, brother? Representing
good,
mother
man.
tongue over there and shit. I'm here.
Yeah, man.
How you doing?
Listen,
All
I
right.
was playing this record, man. The Instant
Oh,
House
word.
record.
Okay.
Lost Horizon,
Okay.
your Mind Travel mix. Man, this record is like one of those, I would say, radically timeless
Right.
records. I suppose it was different from much of what was going on at the time, right? The question is, what was the inspiration behind Instant House, and what worlds were you trying to open with this music at the time?
Oh, got you. So, first and foremost, it needs to be said from the outset that we didn't take ourselves seriously.
Right, right,
That wasn't the thing that we got together. Oh, look, we'll make some music, well, whatever. Fortunately, actually, Instant House began with the original owner of Dance Tracks, with a friend of ours, a customer that used to go to Dance Tracks. I was the music person there. But Stan Hazakis, and he's the man, actually, he's one of the reasons why I'm here today.
okay.
It's a whole story of how I got through to this here, because even at the time, I DJing, making music, all that shit was not in my foreseeable future. Never thought about that shit. So anyway, Tony Confucione is the main guy, the keyboardist, who's incredible. And by the way, one of the most incredible keyboard players to this day
Right.
that I've ever worked with. So they got together because they were more closer than I was with Tony, because he was a customer at the store. And they would go to Tony's crib in Long Island. And they started just fucking around. Tony told Stan one day, yo, I got a studio, let's go try to do some shit. So they go in Long Island. They began the first jam, which was Over, right?
Right.
So the next weekend, they invited me to come up out of nowhere. Now, again, I had no musical experience at all of making music or whatever, aside from doing edits from reel to reel at my mom's house in my room. Oh, but by then, but that was earlier. And then at that time, with the whole Innocence house, I had moved to the Lower East Side and became a moderate skinhead punk dude. But anyway, they started the whole thing with the first jam was Over. And they invited me the next weekend to go there. I said, Joe, come get down with us. I got there. And the two mixes of Over were already done.
Right.
And they said, Joe, we have a shot at doing some shit. I said, okay. Now, again, I knew nothing about how to create music, but what I did have was the knowledge of music that I obviously consumed as a really deep music listener, right?
Right.
So I naturally directed Tony Confucione. I said, yo, loop that,
So Instant House wasn't a name, it was like a name that just came out.
No, there was no name. Yeah,
there was no name.
I coined the name afterwards. This is afterwards.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why that was, right? And so I directed Tony to loop this shit. And the guy was a brilliant fucking engineer, We worked off of the first fucking Macs back in the day. Little towers?
Yeah.
Those little tower fucking things, whatever.
Yeah.
I forget the keyboard to be used and all that, but again, I was totally surprised that this guy knew all this, and he was the keyboard player he was. Anyway, I got him to loop this thing. We created a bass line, and I told Tony, just wail over this shit, over the whole thing, playing solo, right? And that became my mix of Over.
Right. Okay.
And that was actually my very, very first remix that I've ever done. Well, I don't know. I guess we can call it production because it was from scratch. But actually, that was my very first production that I've ever done. So you know a little bit about Instant House. We didn't take ourselves seriously, brother. We just were dudes that came from a record store, inspired. They were inspired to do some shit. I got involved, and to this day we don't take that shit seriously. None of that stuff,
Wow.
The name Instant House, as you asked that question, where I coined that name simply because it was all sample based. Right?
Oh, okay.
And we want to take every single thing like for our, and actually at the same day that we did Over, I produced Our Day with them from the beginning. The original raw Shelter mix, which is not the one everyone's playing now. Because when I brought the reel to reel to Timmy at the heyday of the Shelters back in the 90s, he killed that shit, and that was one of his favorite records. But anyway, the reason why I called it Instant House is because it was practical. We understood, not even practical, but we understood then that what we're doing is taking shit of other people's music. Right?
Okay.
And we're not taking this shit, we're not trying to run out there being producers, look what we fucking made. That's not what we're about. Right. And so the nature of how this music was made, samples, loops, keyboard shit, whatever. I said, yo, let's call it Instant House. It's not much different than open a pouch of oatmeal, putting some hot water, pouring that shit in, instant oatmeal, and then voila, you got oatmeal, right? It's the same shit with Instant House for us. So that's why I came up with that name. And again, we didn't take this shit seriously, man, even today. All that music that you hear,
well, yeah.
aside from Lost of Rising, that was all shit we just having fun with, man.
Well, I get what you say when you say that you need a kind of degree always of like being, in a way, not taking yourself too seriously, but you are at the same time, right? I mean, maybe not these records at the time when you started, but then all the journey afterwards, the record stores and everything else you did. You know what I'm saying? Is that an attitude?
I do know what you're saying, Patrick, but what people tend not to realize is that there's not the fucking thing on this planet that we have actually created. It's all been done before, whether you've been involved in the process,
right,
or you just consumed it by being whoever the fuck you are, just living, right? For me, when it comes to music, all the music knowledge that I have was being a deep listener.
right.
It's not that I think I dreamt some shit and I created, I dissect what I'm doing. It's not, I mean, the approach may be different and unique, but none of this shit is fucking brand new. You know what I'm saying? It's all taken from experience and inspiration. Right? So in that form, what it's not about not taking it seriously, but giving credit to where credit is due.
Right.
Right? Understanding that the music is the higher power and that we are just like here taking from all kinds of different places. And you gotta understand and acknowledge that. And it's because of that way of thinking, Patrick, there's not a genre of music that I'm not able to produce.
Right. Yes,
true. And legitimately so.
So the genre is not a limitation, it's a doorway, right?
No.
It's like...
Well, it could be a limitation in the sense of where you start to categorize.
Commercially, yeah. Of labeling music. Music.
You know what I'm saying? And I come from a home where the music was flowing of all kinds of shit at once.
Right.
So for example, if I see on a flyer these days, jazz set, you might not see me there.
Right.
I'm not trying to hear jazz all night. As deeply as I appreciate that music,
you don't
I need to hear some different shit at the same time.
Yeah. And what was your musical upbringing then? I mean, at the time.
Brother Patrick, see, that's a whole other deep story, brother, that I even get emotional from. And it's really difficult for me to articulate in a way where it wouldn't do a misjustice. I've never, put it this way, I have never read in any biography anyone that grew up in the way that we grew up at home. And when I say we, like my brother Joaquin Claussell was the main balletto with Eddie Palmieri, band leader until his passing, can continue flying, Brother Eddie. But we grew up, it was a deeply, and I don't want to overuse terms of spiritual and everything, but that's what the experiences were. It was a life force for us. And let me just give you an example of how I grew up, and I'll get back a little bit to that question of yours. It was so profoundly important to us, music, that we, especially myself and my brother, we used music as bedtime stories. So we were a poor family. So while we slept together until we were 18, religiously from when we began this thing as young, very kids, when we slept together, the way for us to fall asleep was to collaborate verbally with some of our favorite tunes. He would be, because he was obviously percussionist or whatever, he would do percussion, obviously a better singer, so he would sing. I would do what I wanted always to be, a guitar player, lead guitar player. And this is the way religiously every fucking night until we were 18 that we fell asleep.
Wow.
So in other words, trying to say that we lived this shit hard fucking core, right? And so my inspiration also came from my mom. If you look at the logo for Sacred Rhythm Music, that woman standing there, if you look closely, it's a teenage woman standing there holding a record in front of a stereo.
Right. That's your mom?
Right? That's my mom.
Wow.
So she was emphatically in love with fucking music too, right? And then I'll share something about, it's not uncommon back in those days for Puerto Rican families. My mother probably had my first sibling when she was 14.
Okay.
So my elder brothers were way older, right? And they were hardcore music lovers, right? Along with my mom. And so at home, we grew up with all this kind of shit thanks to them. So our musical upbringing, and again, it was across the fucking board, brother. And that's what I'm saying. I grew up in a way where our home, for example, was known or coined from the neighborhood as 365 4th Street, the house of music.
Wow.
Because all the neighbors were here 24/7 is music coming out that fucking house. Because we literally woke up
Okay.
to the shit
Yeah.
and fell asleep to the shit. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
That's my backbone in music.
And then, I mean, you told me about Instant House, but then Spiritual Life was like in the 90s, late 90s, right? When you opened the label.
That's correct.
So from living music every day, from producing and sampling and having fun and not taking yourself too seriously, from actually saying, okay, I want to open a label, did something change, or was it just part of a natural process for you, if you know what I'm saying?
It was a necessity.
A necessity.
Spiritual life came out of necessity. I had a record store that was booming.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
So that
Everybody
was
used to come
before,
to
so
Dance Tracks.
Dance Tracks was...
No, Dance Tracks, Spiritual Life was born out of Dance
Out
Tracks.
of-
That's
yeah.
where I created. During the heyday of Dance Tracks was Spiritual Life, right? And it was a necessity, brother, because I was busy already. You know what I'm saying? The store and everything was doing lovely. At the time I started, traveling as a DJ, blah, blah, blah. And what happened was that, because Dance Tracks, it was known as the store, you wanted the deepest shit, you go to Dance Tracks.
You go to Dance Tracks.
That's you want the deepest and the eclectic shit, whatever, and people that live that motherfucker, you go to Dance Tracks. Right?
Right.
Problem was, this whole thing happened where progressive house became the norm, right? And you know how people put the so-called producers, right?
Yeah.
They're supposed to be producers and make music, right? But they don't go by their own what's from inside because they're not really producers, right?
Right.
So when the tide changes,
That's
they
it.
go with the fucking thing,
They go
right?
with the tide,
So
yeah,
whoever was creating deep house at the time, fuck that. We can't beat them, join them. I need to be heard. I need to be seen. Let me start creating progressive house.
Right.
Therefore, deep house music and the eclectic shit was becoming less available to purchase because everybody turned on this shit, right? Because people don't make music. Most of these motherfuckers don't make music because they're music people. It's about ego show. You know what I'm saying? It's something other, right?
Right.
And so
Right.
I was faced with two choices. And really, this is the two choices I was faced with because I was oppressed. I said, either I got to get out of this record store business, you know what I'm saying, and just do the other shit I'm doing, or I had to create the antidote. Therefore, gave rise to spiritual life music. Right?
Okay.
Because I needed to instill that kind of, the difference back into this fucking system. It wasn't like I thought about this at home because I wouldn't be able to pull it off, but I knew that I had the means. Meaning you have a record store, you have the connections, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Even though when I played the early music for spiritual life to some of my people, they looked at me like I was crazy. They said, yo,
What are you doing? Kind of thing.
what's this bullshit? And the first thing that comes out of my mouth, you ain't gonna make no noise. You ain't gonna make no money out of this. You know what I'm saying? And me, as being one person that's very individual and I do my own shit,
Yeah.
and I'm not really swayed by anybody else's shit,
Yeah.
I said, yeah, I got
don't
my
care.
vision. I know. And gave rise to fucking spiritual life music, and the rest is fucking history. I've been working with some of the most amazing, put out some of the most amazing music back then that people and labels started fucking copying to do. It inspired a lot. And so as well as Dance Tracks, it inspired a lot of people to do different things in that realm. Right? And it brought the rise to a lot of these different labels. So that's what happened. And listen, I worked with some of the, to this day, Jeff de Guillaume, for example. We did the Voyage of Dreams album. Slam Mode, which are the two dope brothers that don't even get enough light the way they do. These brothers are dope, musically and everything. These are some bad motherfuckers, right? And people like that we had on the label, Daniel Moreno, and, it was more of a representation of cosmic, live, Afrocentric world music infused into dance. That's what it was. And at the same time, so you know, while I was doing that, I was developing with Jerome Cinnamon, Ibadan Records.
Okay.
I was part of that foundation from the beginning. Those two labels actually helped redefine what this soulful, dope music is about. We were the two main labels doing that shit.
Right. In a time where, because like this beginning of 2000, there must have been even, for a record store, like the whole digital CD thing, people buying less records. That was a factor, I suppose, at the time, but you kept on going through changes, through eras,
we
right?
We were not in fear of that new revolution.
Right.
As a matter of fact, even with spiritual life, sacred rhythm, which we'll probably get into, whatever, we kept on with the vinyl thing. And again, when you look out there where people are talking about Afro house, whatever, which I don't even like that fucking term, you see they'll never give props to the originators of that, and so-called something like prescription records with fucking Brother Von Trent and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Right? They're not looking at history, but all you got to do, Patrick, you got to learn and be interested in becoming a historian. Therefore, do your research and look at timeline.
Right.
Timeline will tell you everything. Look at the time before the rise, the inception of Joaquin Joe Claussell, and what happened afterwards. And I will tell you the fucking story. I don't need to go online and tell people none of that shit. I'm secure on my shit. So is Brothers Von Trent, so are brothers like Jerome, everything. We know what we give into this shit and continue to do so.
Right. And so you mentioned sacred rhythm. So was that for you, like sacred rhythm was just a different phase in time, or was there a different kind of inspiration or direction with the label, or what was the reason you had another label? Was it the same as Spiritual Life, but then there must have been something else, right?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. Originally, it was somewhere where Joaquin Joe Claussell could release his own music.
Sacred Rhythm.
Yeah, Sacred Rhythm.
Right,
That's what
right.
that really
Oh,
was about.
so that was your...
Spiritual Life was,
okay.
Well, Spiritual Life was originally more artist-based.
Right.
Sacred Rhythm was more about where am I going to release my music? Because I'm not trusting to release my music everywhere else. And if you notice about my music, if you look at my discography, the only thing you see produced by Joe Claussell are remixes. You don't see Joe Claussell production to other labels, right? That's how Sacred Rhythm. But naturally, it started doing what it does, getting the accolades and the respect that it did, where it again drew the attention of other producers that wanted to be on it. And I'm really more of a serviceman. That's what I've been from the beginning in this industry. Being at a record store, serving people music is where I come from, right?
Right.
And so if somebody wanted to be associated to me, my job was to say yes and look out for them, whatever. So it came from a personal journey into a more broader artist developing label. The difference is the times were different. Whereas Spiritual Life, there were more resources and a lot more ways to do things you want to do in the most organic way to do it. But also a little bit less cost effective. Whereas when Sacred Rhythm came years later on, it became a little bit more difficult to move in that way. Therefore, I had to turn down a lot of artists, put it that way, to be able to.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And I worked with a few. I enlisted again the help and the dope music of Slammo as number one. You know what I'm saying? Because those brothers, the music they do is fucking timeless. Right? Yeah. And so on and so on.
With Enrico Volkov, we pick, the Cassandra Wilson from the Spiritual Life music catalog.
Yeah, that's a special one.
Yeah, so I'm gonna play this.
Sure.
Hot jar in my pocket, got mud on my shoes, walked all the way from Mississippi just to spread the news.
So yeah, question here, man, is like, I'm very curious to know what was the creative process around a record like this, which is like your own interpretation. It's limiting to say remix, but like, I'm curious to know, like in this case specifically, how the whole record came to life, you know?
Well, it was brought to my attention. Obviously, we were Cassandra Wilson fans. And we have a brother, I don't know if you know who he is, a very important brother in the jazz scene of New York City. His name is Brian Backus. This brother has not only signed Nora Jones, but he signed the Pharoah Sanders. He actually recently, he's the one that signed Gregory Porter.
Okay.
His name is Brian Backus. He used to run Antilles for Chris Blackwell.
Okay.
We're tight, right?
Okay.
We our mutual friend, Fumi Ononaye, which is another dope brother, God rest his soul, is my brother, which really fucked us up last year when he passed. Almost 2 years ago he passed.
The stars.
Anyway, Brian Backus, dope brother, look him up. Brian Backus, this brother is dope.
Okay.
And incredibly respected in the jazz scene worldwide, and particularly in New York City. He used to work at Blue Note. So he mentioned to me, because that brother would always call me about some dick shit, right? Joaquin, you need to hear this. Now, I already heard the record because I'm a fan of Cassandra, and we bought the record anyway. And they brought to my attention, yo, you should do a remix. And it was to run the Voodoo down. And I heard it, I said, oh, well, first of all, you know, I'm not going to say no to Cassandra Wilson
Of course.
remix. But the jam was dope.
Right.
Originally.
Right.
And so, like, brother, like all remixes and stuff that I do, right? Once I say yes to something, how they really unfold, I can't really explain technically how that works. It's really a spiritual process, even to this day, where once I accept a remix, then I have to meditate on that. And I mean, like, really literally meditate. Like, same time, I call upon the spirits. As corny as that shit may sound to motherfuckers, I do.
Right.
Because you have to, in my opinion, as I mentioned earlier, of how you have to understand what the higher power is and understand that you don't really create shit yourself. And in some ways, it's important and the name of Cassandra Wilson, and then associated to the infamous, famous Blue Note records, you got to come with some dope shit. You can't come half-ass on that shit, you know what I'm saying? And so the process for me is like you meditate and you call on the sacred spirits of rhythm, what I call them. And we ask permission to how we're going to approach this shit. And once I received the answer, I called upon my brother Daniel Moreno, which is one of the most incredible, you got to look up this brother's shit. He worked with everybody. I'm not even going to fucking try to promote shit out there. Just look up Daniel Moreno. I called upon him, and I called on the musicians I used, the Bennett Pastors or whatever, my boyfriend on guitar, and I brought to the studio what that vision was granted to me from the ancestors. That's a true story of how that shit happened. And from there, the process, I can't explain to you why the outcome became it was. I can explain to you a little process, process of what I do. Like, for example, we'll get into your remix, but what I do normally is that once I understand what I'm going to go in with, 9 times out of 10, what I tend to go in with is not what I come out with, right? Right. Because the ideas are flowing, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not stuck. Yeah. The shit is wide open and more messages come in. Granted, you start to fuck that. That sounds like a better idea.
Right.
The process for me with that, as with everything else, is there's a long, and you would know this, Patrick, how long it took for me to do this shit. There's a long experimental process that goes on about.
Right.
And in that journey, there's at least the minimum of 10 different variations before I ultimately end up to the one. But there must be
there must be in the process some like elements of the songs you hear that kind of stick with you in a way that, okay, I'll reshape this, I'll amplify this, I'll work on that, I'll keep this as a bone structure kind of thing and work on top, or it just flows like without any...
No. And that's a good question, Patrick. No. You have to be serious about the approach of what you're doing. So what I mean, involved in the creative process, involved in the asking permission from the sacred citizens of rhythm to do it, you have to go with the idea of what it is. Like, for example, Run the Voodoo Down. You know what I'm saying? That was, what am I going to do with Run the Voodoo Down? A name coined by one of my favorite artists in the world, Miles Davis, and he's associated, right?
Wow. Yeah.
So I'm asking them and the ancestors and speaking to them at the same time, and I go about it for that particular project in that way.
Right.
There was the outcome of Run the Voodoo Down the way it was, right? And if you see the long intro, drum intro to that shit, whatever, that's Cassandra walking, right? When she says, I got mud on my shoes, the long journey she's walking on, right?
Yeah.
That's what the drum is, just fuck the earth. You know what I'm saying? I got mud, she's in the dirt. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that long journey, she got eyes in her pocket, and I got mud on my shoes, right? You gotta listen to this shit that you're
Really
approaching.
listen, yeah.
You got to really listen and
really listen.
respect what it is.
Right.
You don't just go into the fucking I don't at least go into the studio and get the drums and get the programs and shit, whatever. And that's what, to me, unfortunately, what a lot of this shit today sounds like.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
It sounds like there's no correlation to the title, for example. So you already know that this is some made up shit that, you know, and honestly, most of this shit sounds like it.
No,
You know what I'm
that's
saying?
true.
It's shit that you can, a lot of this music is the shit you can produce, I can produce on a computer in my sleep. You know what I'm saying? It's like 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
You know, so anyway, to answer your question, yeah, that whole process is about thinking. It's a really thought process about respecting, understanding what and respecting most and first and foremost important, the vision of what the artist was trying to say. We have to be the extension of that. You don't want to take away from that because there is no point then.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and an important thing, which is, I mean, all of your records, I mean, you pay a lot of attention of how the record is presented too, because that's a thing that a lot of people don't get, you know, like following up on what you were saying, you know, that the artwork, the title, the package, everything has to have that certain amount, important amount.
There has to be a correlation between them.
Right, otherwise...
There's a story to be fucking told.
That's what I just wanted to point out, you know, that you know, it's very important to have a project that is not only just about the music that's on there, but also the whole artwork, packaging and everything else, you know, and the physical object and the fact that you're actually doing something that stands the test of time, right? That's the whole point.
Yes. Well, the question that producers need to ask themselves is, what are you trying to say?
Right.
Are you trying to say something? Is there something you want to tell me? Or you just fiddling around with shit, whatever come up, and then after that's done, you got the title. Shit.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? What the fuck you trying to say? And so art, because that's the very first thing you see. That's the true representation supposed to be. That's the intro. That's the doorway.
Yeah.
Once you pull that shit out, you open the doorway to the spirit of the shit. If the doorway doesn't correlate with the spirit of the shit, then
why are you doing it?
Yeah. Well, you already know where the producer, whatever's coming from. And I discard that shit right away. I'm like, okay, you know what I'm saying? And again, some of the music may be nice, but you can tell once again that it's not a melody or rhythm produced by inspiration, but rather by, let me make this track or whatever it is, you know, so I can get some likes or whatever the fuck it is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's the problem.
That's the problem.
I don't approach shit like that.
Right. I mean, all of what you said, it extends to the music you do, the records you put out, the label, the record stores, and Cosmic Arts now is, I mean, when I came there last year, was like, it's not just a record store, right? That's the other thing that is part of what you do, is everything is makes sense together because it's a higher thing. I don't know how to explain it. It's like a temple, an archive, a school. You know?
Right.
So when did you open the first Cosmic Arts? Because you weren't there, you had a different space before, right? From where you are now.
Yeah, it was across the hall from the same place that you came and rocked, where you came and rocked the house and shit, you know what I'm saying? Almost took my job and shit, you know what I'm saying?
Shut up,
you know what I'm saying? Yeah, it was, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, it was across the hall, it was small, and it was also dope. It was just smaller, but we actually missed the space because the shit was in itself crazy and dope. You know what I'm saying? But that was the seed planted, and here's the blossom of it, right?
Okay.
In Cosmic Arts, you know, like everything that I'm part of, there's a reason behind this shit. And if you know what it takes, you probably know from running there. If you know what it takes to open and run a place like this, it's not a money machine place. It's a labor of love. It's about doing your part in giving back to this shit and trying to educate and everything to give people a space where they can be themselves and appreciate. You know what I'm saying? That the antidote to the bullshit and the craziness out in the world. But one of the most important parts of Cosmic Arts was more so, let me be real about this, was to support the brothers. The brothers, we don't, you know, I'm just getting a little political here, excuse me for that. But when it comes to my people, and I don't mean our people all together in this, whatever, but specifically the blacks and the Latinos, we all chase the wrong fucking things. At the end of the day, because we're so separated, we can't really consider ourselves to be aligned with power. You know what I'm saying? And so what I opened this up was to give brothers an opportunity, and it's open to everybody, to come in and to be able to express their art and their voice the way they need to without any interrupt. You know what I'm saying? No, just like be who
No
the fuck
filters,
you are.
yeah.
No filter. This is what Cosmic Art is. Well, at the same time, being a music center, at a record store on the weekends, an art gallery, you know what I'm saying? A hub for fucking music. And we got some of the dopest shit happening here. Like, for example, at Central Technology. I don't know if you know our brother James Hurt is. James Hurt. H-U-R-T. James.
Yeah.
Look that brother up.
Okay.
It's why we created, man. It's a cultural center, spiritual center. And like you attested for yourself when you walked in, what was the feeling was for you when the first time you just walked into the fucking place?
It was just like, yeah, like I said, it was like, I don't really know how to describe it because it's like a record store, but it's not a record store. It's like a club, but it's not a club. It's like a space. But like you said, where people just, because there was, people listening to records, you in the middle of the floor, the Saturday that I came, you were in the middle of the floor in front of the speakers listening to a record, just listening to a record.
Right.
So it's like you said, like a space where you can really feel, I felt at home. That was kind of the feeling.
Pow. That's all I needed to hear. So
there was no like, I'm going in a shop, I need to buy money. It was just like a great feeling.
Yeah, and the key thing is, and I'm glad you said home, because that's exactly what most people say as soon as they walk in, the first thing they say to us is, wow, it feels good in here.
Yeah, it's true.
That's the key. That's the key to everything, brother. And you see me, if you didn't know me, you wouldn't know I was the owner of the fucking place.
It's true.
Because I don't act like that.
It's true.
Right?
It's true.
You know what I'm saying? Right? Because it's all about open shit for everybody, right? But that's the key. See, the key, Patrick, with anything we create, you can have the dopest spot. You can make the dopest music. You can be the dopest DJ. But if the vibration is not in line with the spirits and the way it should be, none of that shit really comes true. None of that shit matters, and it's not everlasting. We work on vibration. We're vibrational people. We work on fucking vibration. So everything has to, when creating fucking music, when you feel it, whatever, DJing, whatever it is, has to come from this place of being in line with a vibration, with gratitude, and all of this powerful shit that comes with it that you are serving people with. And that is what you feel when you are receiving energy from another person, whether it's just a regular person or entertainer. We're conscious of that shit. And that's what we try to provide. Fuck the space at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Fuck the speakers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Give me 2 fucking speakers, a red light, you know what I'm saying? Look at dark in this motherfucker. The vibration.
The vibration, yeah. And especially with you extend that to productions, to music, to actually making music,
Absolutely.
which is the next level. But even with DJing, that should be the first thing. You're playing other people's music, so that is by itself something you're doing for a crowd, for people. It's not you, is it? It's you in the selection or whatever, but that is, a lot of people don't understand that, especially in modern world now with the musical ecosystem we're in, when it's all fast, everything needs to be accessible.
IG based, right?
Yeah.
So when it comes to DJing, Patrick, and like I said, it's with everything you fucking do, you have to understand that you are hired to serve people. Where a lot of us don't understand. We're standing on a fucking pedestal. I'm the fucking king. Look at me. I don't even want motherfuckers looking at me. I wanted to go back to the days like in the G and everything where everybody was facing each other, getting fucking freaky. You know what I'm saying? There was no such thing as, yo, look at the fucking DJ shit. I hate it when, trust me, I'm very animated because more so it's really all about the way I've been DJing as a fucking kid, playing music as a kid with my mother's stereo, right?
Yeah.
But it's a connection with a higher power. That's what transforms me to do what I'm doing.
Right.
Because I know that I have a fucking job to do at the end of the day. And when I go out, it's always 100% I give these fucking people, right? 100%. And so you got to understand what you're called upon, what's called upon you at hand. And that's serving people. There are a lot of people out there that are going through shit.
Yeah.
There are also a lot of people out there that are content with this shit. But there's most people they're coming.
So you have a responsibility. You have a responsibility.
It's a huge fucking responsibility.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't. When I hear DJ, yo, how was it? Shit was dope. Yo, how was it? The shit was dope. I'm the guy who will tell you, man, isn't that hot tonight? Because I know for myself,
Right. Yeah.
I didn't do my fucking job.
Right.
Not saying that it happens that often. However, it will happen.
Right.
It has
Of course.
happened.
Of course.
And I'll go back to my hotel room, Patrick, and be like, "Dad, I fucked up tonight." And I take it to heart because I didn't do my job. Not
Right.
about how dope I was supposed to be. It's
Right.
like, did I move?
Yeah,
Did, I,
but still-
did somebody go home feeling elevated tonight?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's the fucking point of what a DJ is supposed to be. Where now, to me, if you ask me, it's all a clown show.
Yeah, but even there,
Sorry
when you
to
say I didn't do what I had to do, but it also depends on a lot of factors that are outside of you. You know,
Oh, yeah,
the
of
club,
course,
the
of
people,
course.
where you are. I mean, you need
of
to
course.
feed from that energy. If there's no energy, then what are you going to do?
Of course.
You know?
Of course. That is absolutely true. But you notice how I came in and I didn't mention any of that. Because I only got to take responsibility for my part.
Right. Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
I don't
That's it.
understand.
You know what I'm saying? Even though those are all true factors to the shit.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But I'm not going to sit here and make excuses for the shit.
No, of course,
What,
of course.
What the fuck was my part?
Of
in it?
course.
And I treat that with everything in life, brother. Whether it's relationship, whatever. I look at what's my part in the unfolding of this drama or whatever the fuck it is. You know, even if it's something cascaded against me, I gotta look like, okay, damn, let me analyze this shit. Why did this happen? What did I contribute to this shit?
Right.
So in other words, what I'm trying to say is it's all about fucking life at the end of the day.
It's like, yeah.
Right? You're bringing when I DJ, I'm bringing my experience. It's all about fucking life. And let me just say this, which is true about me too. I never once ever consider myself a DJ anyway. I'm not a DJ that way.
You don't consider yourself a DJ?
Hell no. First of all, I don't even like the name
term.
DJ next to my shit.
Right.
Okay? And the people that know me, they know this about me. I didn't want to be a fucking DJ.
You didn't
My
wa-
shit? No. There's another story of how I got into this. Even making music, that all came. Music, for example, remixing, whatever. You talk to Jerome Sydenham. He's the one, while we were developing the Baden record, it's a long story, is why I became a remixer and all that, whatever. Because when we did the Baden records, and we were, getting multi-tracks, whatever, because he worked for East West.
Yeah.
We got 10 city multi-tracks, and we sat down thinking about, who the fuck was going to remix this? There's no way I was thinking about it. He looked at me and said, bro, you do it.
You do it. Right.
And the first remix we did, I called Johnny Sender from Conk. You know the group Conk, right?
Yeah.
And my boy, he's a guitar. Again, we were in the East Village, baby, dance tracks. We were amongst the Basquiat, the fucking Keith Harings, the CBGBs. We had all the shit around us, right? So anyway, I called up one of these dope musicians, and the first remix was Nothing Changed.
Oh.
That shit did so well that it snowballed, and then what really took it off too was the Squabbles of Joe, where everybody and his motherfuckers wanted remixes. That's how I got into it. I didn't want to be a remixer. The DJing thing too is like, I don't want to be a fucking DJ. My thing, brother, more than anything, is listening and dancing. I'm a dancer.
I know.
Those are my two fucking main things.
Listening and dancing.
You give me a choice of having those three, the DJ, take away one easily without hesitation. Get the DJ shit out of here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Didn't know this.
Don't get me wrong. Well, again, when I'm there, I give my 100% because I'm a music dude.
Right.
But I'm more of a music. My perspective of the being DJ, how I come, if you look at my style, which a lot of people try to do, whatever, I don't give a fuck about that. But if you look at my style, it's organic. It's not, if I saw somebody DJing the way I did, I'd be like, what the fuck is this crazy motherfucker doing? Right? If you want to be a DJ, you don't come in like that. You come in with the fucking master mixes and shit, the blends, you know what I'm saying? Showing that you can mix and shit, you know what I'm saying? I come as a radical. I'm a radical. I'm you know what, me and a couple of people, you know what I call myself? In all that I do, Patrick, I call myself an upsetter.
Upsetter.
Now, the upsetter term that obviously the late, great, continued astral travel Lee Perry came up with. He's an upsetter, right?
Yeah.
In my terms of upsetter, is somebody that does what the fuck they do. They don't give a fuck. They come with their own thing. And it doesn't matter what the fuck you say, we're flowing without doing it. And at the same time, we are instilling something of our own into the genre. And we don't give a fuck what you say about it. That's an upsetter.
Right.
And there are a few of us out there that are upsetters. A very fucking few. You know what I'm saying? And that's where I come from. And so getting back to the DJ thing, that's not what I wanted to do. You know, the whole learning how to do this shit was, fortunately, back in the days, in the 70s, was turntables. But that was me and my boys getting together. They got turntables,
Just
one got a
hanging,
mix
yeah,
or whatever. And we
listening
learned
to-
how to fucking DJ.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
going to the Paradise Garage as a dancer or whatever, never once did I look at Larry Levan's DJ booth and say, I want to be that.
No, never.
No, never once.
Wow.
I'm being straight with you. What I needed is what he gave me. Because when I went to the Paradise Garage, for example, brother, I was there from the beginning to the end on the fucking dance floor. That was it. Religiously. But you know, at the same time, that it's a whole other compartment of all my music too. Because at that time, I was a skinhead. I was a moderate skinhead. I was into punk too, so heavily going to CBGBs and all that shit, whatever. But when it came to that music, that's where I fucking went. I was a dancer. I love dancing. You know what I'm saying? But the DJing thing, because I used to be, before all of this, I was a carpenter woodworker. I used to be a foreman of a woodworking shop, making loads of money. I was a foreman. I was doing good, living in the Lower East Side, whatever, got my honey, you know what I'm saying? And one day I walked by First Avenue on my way fucking home on the Lower East Side, 2nd Street, and I noticed fucking dance tracks. This fucking store. And I walk in this motherfucking store, I'm a music dude, and my man's got 2 fucking voiceover theaters, Altex, in this fucking store. Like, you know how big those are, right?
Yeah.
Stan Hazakis, right? And so one thing led to another. I said, fuck it, I'm at home. I can hang out. So I was hanging out there all the time. One day, I became, in a very natural way, the DJ of the store. And remember, Frankie Knuckles used to live right up the street. Robert, everybody used to come back. And the Dance Tracks was the hub. This is before I took it over. Was the hub for all kind of like I told you, Conk, for example.
Yeah.
All the people from Conk, the Light, all those motherfuckers come to my store, right?
Right.
So I became naturally the DJ of the store. And from there, people heard me DJ from there. And my first gig from Japan, some Japanese dude came to me, I need you to go to fucking Japan. He brought me to Japan. And
right.
So let me just tell you an important story to this. So much so that I didn't want to be a DJ, and I was content. When I took over Dance Tracks and turned it to where it became, so much so that FK, to a little bit about Body and Soul, Francois K. and Danny Crivet, they were customers of mine.
Okay.
One day he came to me and said, Joaquin, man, I'm doing the Sunday party.
Yeah.
I'm about to do a Sunday party. We didn't got the name yet. I'm going to do it at Vinyl. I'm thinking about, I'm very good friends with Danny Crivet. I'm thinking about doing it with Danny Crivet. You know what I'm saying? We thought about you to join. My answer was quick but respectful. I said, FK, I'm not interested. Now you imagine, FK is somebody I looked up to even before I saw for his remixes. And I would even say sometimes when I go W, it's a lot of his older works, right? I looked up to do hardcore. So imagine one of your heroes of dance coming to you and saying, yo, man, I want you to join me. Where most people, if not everybody, would have said yes. I said, FK, respectfully, that's not what I want to do.
So
Because my store was set. It was a dope. Patrick, put it this way. When you see a record store today with a sofa and a DJ booth with dope turntables, that came from Dance Tracks.
Okay.
That didn't come from nowhere else.
Okay.
People know that. That shit came from Dance Tracks, right? Because the store was like a club itself.
Right. So you didn't want anything else.
Listen, I had a real Yuri, Richard Long crossover, 3 fucking 1100s.
Wow.
Bro, it was the shit. Anyway, I had my shit. What the fuck? I don't need to.
So you didn't want to do, but what changed then? What happened?
What changed when he came to me 4 months? Because he was persistent about this. And I know he doesn't like me telling this story, but I have to because it's important to my journey.
Right.
It is.
Right.
Not that he doesn't like me telling himself, but he may think I say it for other reasons, like to brag. This is not a brag. This is an important part of my fucking journey. And so how he got me was about 4 months later. He came, because he was very persistent with this shit. Yo, man, we're doing Larry Levan's birthday party.
Oh, okay.
Do you want to join that? Now again, to hear this music, that's the motherfucker I was listening to. Larry Levan.
Right, yeah.
All night until my knees were fucking locked. What do you want me to say? I said, you know what? I'll give that one a go. Larry Levan.
That was
And
it.
the party, and you gotta remember, at that time, Body and Soul wasn't Body. It was Body and Soul, but there was not many people going. If there were 50 people going, or even 100 people going to Body and Soul, it was a lot. The party was incredible. And that's the party, actually, it was an all-classics party. All classics. The only new record that was played on that night was It's All Right, I Feel It, when Louis Vega gave me the demo of that shit, of Puerto Rican Soul.
Okay.
Right? That's the club, Louis will tell you, that broke that fucking record. So meaning that's how I came in my own terms. Now remember, it's a classic party. Not one other DJ, FK, Joey Lanos, Danny played the new record. I played the fucking new record, and it became a staple of the fucking place. Just to show you what an upsetter does, right?
Right.
I'm gonna upset this
Upset
shit,
it,
right?
yeah.
But anyway, the party was incredible. Packed to the guild.
When was this?
I don't
When
know
was
if you-
this like?
This was 90. This is early 90s, early 96, and it was incredible. But I remember, it's funny. I don't know if you know who Evelyn Santos is.
Evelyn
Santos is the
No.
queen of the garage movement, right?
Okay.
She tells me she's about 75 now. She don't look a year over fucking 50. But she's known, she's been to the garage, but she's the garage head. And I remember, and she might see this one day and laugh, but when I walked in now, right, because again, this is Joe Claussell, nobody knew who other than dance tracks, I wasn't playing in New York fucking city. So nobody really knew who I was. So when I'm coming in with my fucking crate, she looks at me, Evelyn, because she's the very protector of the garage. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And Larry's the van. She looks at me and says, who the fuck are you? Like, oh, fuck are you?
Right.
What are you on
What
this
do you
bill?
do?
Boy, when I was done with what we did on that fucking party, the next time I came, because after that party, I said, fuck it, I think I can hang with this for a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
That's
yeah,
how
yeah.
you, when the next fucking weekend when I came to my crate, she looked at me in a very different fucking light. And then from that point, I stayed with Body and Soul, and we started to continue to build on that from there. And
Right.
every week, it started to build where we ended up with almost 3,000 people in a fucking 1,500, 2,000 square place. That's what happened. So anyway, that's how my DJ career came. So my
okay.
point in all of this, that everything unfolded naturally, brother.
Right.
It wasn't that I said, yo, I want to be a fucking DJ, because
But
I
even-
turned down
It's
so
true.
much of this shit.
But I would say my experience, because even with us knowing each other through Ron, and you came here to Verona, remember you came to Mother Tongue at the end of COVID, you met Enrique, you met with me, and then we started doing the Sacred Medicine label, which we're obviously honored, to have, to manage. But like the whole thing with you was just always like this. I mean, very kind of direct, natural, and when the remix, when we had this conversation on the phone, I remember. I pitched it. I said, do you like to do? And then you came back to me saying, listen, I'm not going to do one remix. I want to remix 3 tracks. And then it came out 5 different versions of 3 tracks. And we were talking about this the last time I saw you, that the album concept, because it was taken from the tracks you remixed were taken from an album, so the whole thing of doing a remix EP, but thinking of it as an entire kind of sonic journey and experience is taking it to another level. And to me, trust me, I'm still kind of thankful for the way you approach this, which is your way, right? You said it's your way, but still for me, it was a kind of new experience, let's call it this way, and it took the time it took, but I never ever had any kind of, no rush, because I knew this was going to be what it actually is now. So and the questions I was asking you earlier about that, even like Let It Go, the first part of the remix, you kept it basically the same, you changed the drum, and then it evolves in something else. So you did already explain it. It just comes from maybe a seed, maybe an idea, maybe something you like from the original composition. You say, I'm just going to go with that, keep a focus on that.
Well, Brother Patrick, of course you have to be inspired first and foremost.
Yeah.
I don't do remixes unless I'm inspired by the composition, right? But you think, with that track in particular, and by the way, I did mention to you, we did talk about earlier about my process of experiments. I think I mentioned to you that was first an orchestral piece.
Yeah, you told me,
Of strings.
Yeah.
And it was coming out dope. But I realized that if I keep on going with this, then the whole budget is going to be for that one fucking song. So I just said, you know what? Let's leave that shit alone, right?
Yeah.
Point is, though, to your question, is that how I approach all the works, you have to understand the story. We talked about this, of the original composition. And then you have to respect that, and you have to which is why, why would I, for example, the first part that Kylie does most of the shit, I just added little things around.
Yeah.
Why would I want to fuck around with something as dope as that? You know what I'm saying? Just leave that shit flow the way. I can, maybe have some snares and shit, whatever, so it moves a little more, but the composition is dope. So let's leave the shit the way it is, right? And then so what the fuck am I doing?
Right.
Then I'm sitting there like in the experimental process. That's why the string shit I was doing. I said, yeah, I'm gonna fuck it up with this. And I said, no, it's costing me too much money, right?
Right.
But what am I gonna do? What could my involvement be something dope? And so there you go. You think about, and it's all related. If you listen to the melody, it's related to the first part. It's just completely fucking out there different. What can I do to further this? Not even enhance it. That would be degrading the dope original work, but to further this shit along. And there I thought about these breaks and what I call the cosmic vamps.
The cosmic, yeah.
Of the record.
Yeah.
And that's how that came about.
And I remember in this together, which is originally the ambient one, but then you did like this 14 minutes composition where it goes, it's basically 3 different parts. And I mean, that is like, I don't know. I don't even know how to explain. It's like a masterpiece. For me, to hear that expanded that way and where you went with the second and the third part, it's just, And I remember when you sent them over the first time, it takes, like you said, it takes deep listening and understanding and meditation on what you're actually listening to, because it's not immediate, and sometimes you kind of receive something, and in the world we live in, it's like everything has to be immediate feedback, immediate. I like it. Do you like it? Do you like it? The first minute you listen one time, I like it, I don't like it. In this case, they really, grew on me. Right? So I kind of got in, but it took me I remember it was a slap.
You're like, what the fuck is this? Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
It was like a slap when you said it.
What you doing to my shit?
Yeah, man. No, Let It Go was always the one, kind of the more immediate one, let's call it this way. Because you kept the first part and then...
Yeah.
But like in this together was a complete... And then I remember we had the conversation on Joint Purpose that you said, we said the same thing. We said we could do a dub. I can mess around with a dub of that. And that was where the dub, the squatters...
And then I went to my Lower East Side days, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But getting back to Joint Purpose, was it Joint Purpose we were talking about previously?
Yeah.
First of all, with my music, my shit is produced in a way, it's not the immediate shit.
Right.
You really, as a matter of fact, if you want to really truly dissect my music, you got to put headphones on. Because there's a language, when I produce, it's not for nothing. There's a language to what I do. Every instrument, everything, they all communicate with one another.
Yeah.
It's true, not like, true. Okay, I'm just throwing a high, no. This is like, yo. And that's why the experimenting process takes so long for me. Because even if I did something and I hear, like, for example, the Vogues originally sounded dope with the lead or with the bass, but I listen to it again and say, but, they're not really, there's some friction there. They're not really communicating in harmony. So I got to go do it again. So there's a message. And even placing to me is fucking very
That's one of the things I want to say about your, like, the space between all the elements that you put in every production you do. It's just like incredible. And even on vinyl, where people say, oh, on vinyl you can't have a stereo sound much. It's not true, because if you listen to your records, you get the whole spectrum, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I do. And that's what the beauty, why I say producing is one, but besides dancing is one of my favorite things I do, because you get to explore. Right? You get to be in the fucking thing. You could choose the universe within this universe. And the way you listen to fucking music and it's painting it through sound, it's very important that the depth is fucking very cosmic and deep. And what I was trying to say earlier is that the way I create music, my shit is not the instant shit. That's instant house.
Right.
Dun, you know what I'm saying? And even actually, when you touched on the Loss of Rising thing with another spirit, that was the beginning of my spiritual journey. Mm-hmm. That was actually done between me and Tony. Stan was not there at the time. That's when I took over dance tracks from him. But that was channeling that spiritual cosmic side of it. I knew from there that I can do that stuff.
Right.
That's what Lost Horizon came about, right?
Right.
But getting back to my music, my shit is, again, it's visual art in the sense that when you look, for example, you go to a gallery, you look at this extravagant fucking abstract art thing, that you can't really look at it. You really need to take hours to really dissect. And you can go away from this and you come back, you're going to see something else.
Oh,
you go away from it. It's the same thing with my music. Don't fucking listen to my music. No, you need, every time you listen to my shit, you're going to discover something.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
they're
And you
hidden
need to
messages
take-
and
yeah,
everything
you need
within
to
what the fuck I'm doing.
Take the time.
Yes.
Because listening now is like, it's like something in the background kind of thing. You know, people do other stuff and they listen to music, you know, which is cool. But at the same time, if you're really listening to music, that's the only thing you're doing, I think.
I completely agree. And so, for example, with doing your project, for example, when I said to you, I want to do these 3 things, it wasn't just by chance, oh, well, okay, that, whatever. I listened. You know, I obviously it didn't come out to what I originally intended. Never does. But I listened. I said, okay, what can I really do to these things that's going to make a difference?
Right.
What is the story behind it, whatever? So you got to sit down and listen. So when it correlates to one of your questions you asked, how do you approach these fucking remixes? You fucking listen. And you try to contribute, not take away.
Right.
You know?
Right. Well, Joe, thank you, man. Thank you very much. I'm going
You're
to
very
leave you.
welcome,
I want to play in this together. This was originally, you named this jazz edit, but now
Yes.
it's the Voices of Innocence version.
Yes.
I'm going to play this. Thank you again, man.
You're welcome, my brother. Patrick.
Speak soon.
And everybody
Bye,
over there,
Joe.
Mother Tongue. Peace and love.
Thank you,
Ciao.
man. Ciao.
All right, brother.
Ciao, ciao.